only, let me work out, or tell me I'll go link up with somebody else, or at least arrange my time
Yeah,
different. Do you know what I
okay.
mean? So it's
Yeah,
destructive of
dude,
a.
like you gave like the best example of how like, a chick really ruins the productivity of a group.
Okay,
I
I'm
mean, now
sorry, I'm
that you
gonna
brought
have to
in like,
take this. Excuse me. I'll mute my mic.
okay, um, Hisham, yo,
Yeah, I'm here.
okay, listen. Astar is having an important phone call, but let's discuss something.
We'll keep going. I've got to technically jump off, but I guess
Okay,
if you want me to wrap it up and then
hold up.
I'll.
No, there is لحظة. Let's just okay. One quick thing. Let's just give Israr 1 minute. Don't worry, we'll edit this part so it's not in the video.
No worries.
But
Yeah, but
this is what.
we can keep talking while he's doing his thing. I mean, it doesn't
Right.
stop us.
Okay. Basically, what I want to discuss with you, and I'm also sure that Esrar is like wants to talk about this topic. It's about developing your required Machiavellian skills about how to kill it in life, but at the same time, how what you call yo, Esrar, are you back?
Yeah, I am. Sorry, lads. I've got this delivery coming in. So it's the courier guy. He's trying to get in touch. He's outside or close
No
by,
problem.
so he wants to know
Yeah,
what exactly
no
I'm
problem.
doing.
Okay, so we'll just edit this part. Okay.
Sure,
Um,
to you.
yeah, you back with us now?
For a little bit, like it's going to take him a little bit to get here, and when he calls, I'll have to go downstairs, pick up my stuff, and pay him.
Okay. There's
So
just
everyone gets a
one.
good beating.
This is one last thing that I want to roughly discuss.
Okay,
Let's keep it like 5 minutes, and then we
sure.
can end this podcast. Basically, yeah. So we talked about gender differences. We talked about what does it mean to be Machiavellian. We discussed it's required. This is one thing that really annoys me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all three of us can relate to this because we didn't drop out of school. Okay. This is what,
Unfortunately.
yeah, unfortunately. No, let's say, theoretically speaking, let's say we were put in circumstances where we didn't spend 12 years in school, where we were kicked out of school for whatever it is. Let's say we were kicked out of school because for tribal differences with the school head teacher, or because our dad was from a different political party, and our teacher was from a different party, whatever it is. We get kicked out of school and we get thrown in Karachi at the age of 8.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Would we be theoretically more successful? So let me put it for you this way. Instead of me going to Sultan School, graduating, and then going to UVic, Canada, getting a degree in psychology, would I have been more successful if I kept to this route, or if my dad had said no more school and I'm sending your ass to Karachi and you have to make it? Given that I've survived today,
Mm-hmm.
would I have been more successful?
So when you say successful, do you mean successful in terms of work? Like what exactly were you doing in
Yeah, in
Karachi?
terms
If
of
it's
work. In terms of
hypothetical.
work.
So,
Oh shit. I mean, this is a crazy hypothetical because if you're dude, just by the fact that you're sent to Karachi, you've limited yourself, to what you can be successful at. There's no opportunities. So the example,
Okay.
I get what you're saying by the example, but it's like, look, I'll tell you, for me personally, given where I was at 8 or 10 or 12, I would have not survived, dude. I would have been like a prison bitch. Like that would have been me, right?
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So
Good. Nice. So, but let's say you had to go and undergo a radical transformation, being kicked out of Sultan School at 7th grade and sent to Karachi, right? Given that you've made it, you survived. Would your Machiavellian skills be much more advanced today?
Yeah, I
Hisham?
think so. Taking Karachi as a metaphor, I'm going to step away from like actual Karachi, but taking it as a metaphor for being in a place where I have to, the desert or whatever the fuck, right? Where I have to
Right,
develop these skills, or a gang or a prison or whatever. Um,
right.
yeah, I think so. Operating under these conditions is completely different than operating under, I don't know, a fucking school desk, a cubicle.
Mm-hmm.
It's like definitely, absolutely.
Okay. So let's say Hisham in another multiverse is listening to this podcast, but he's the equivalent of Hisham at seventh grade. If you had to send him out a message from this podcast, what would you say to him?
Oh man, stop jerking
In
off
terms
as
of this,
much. Fuck, I don't know, man. In terms of this, I would say put less influence on intellectualism, on being in the head, and put more experience on the real world experience, on the world of men, where you have to cultivate these skills of Karachiism.
okay, but you said don't put so much influence in the head.
Yes. So let me expand on that.
Okay, so
To
it sounds
be
like Karachi being successful in Karachi doesn't mean they have to be in the head.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so let me expand on that.
Right.
Reading a book about, let's say, physics, or
Right.
some high horse, high chair, armchair, fucking, tower in the clouds philosophy is not
Right.
gonna help you become more of a Karachiist. What's gonna help you more, and what's more applicable to the real world, is going to be put yourself in real life situations where you are tested physically, mentally, where your character is tested, where you have to make decisions that impact you and your family and your tribe in a real way, as opposed to being in a sheltered situation where, I mean, let's be real, right? In Sultan School,
Right.
even
I mean,
if you fucking,
okay, this sounds all really good theoretically. How does it play out seventh grade Sultan School?
okay, so for me personally, it would be being more active in situations where, sports, let's say, more specifically team sports, things where your medal is tested against you're compared to other men. Martial
Right.
arts, huge. Jiu-jitsu at that age would have been fucking phenomenal for that skill.
All right.
Anything
So,
where, because let's be real, in Sultan, like in school, even in our school, Sultan School, even if you fail, like nothing consequential happens. Like you fail a year, and then, well, next year you just start over, right? But in
right.
something like martial arts, it hits your ego, because the consequence is some dude just fucked you.
Okay. Okay.
Putting myself in
Yeah.
more situations where shit gets real would be
Right.
the way that I would handle it, right?
Yeah. So you're saying seventh graders focus less on the books, don't ditch school, but do more team or combat sports. And do you
Oh fuck
think
yeah.
doing team and combat sports, especially where it's all dudes, it's not like playing basketball with chicks. Um, you think that goes to develop your Machiavellian skills?
Oh, absolutely. In a team where, again, you gotta size your teammate up. He has to size you up. If he passes you the ball, are you going to execute and score, or is he like, fuck this guy? Even though he's in a good position to score, if I pass him the ball, he's a fucking bitch. He's gonna fumble. I might as well do the thing myself, or I might as well just pass it back and do another attack. Right? It makes a difference, that dynamic of the team.
Yeah.
And I would also what was I gonna add? Because the way you phrased it was really good. It's like, yeah, don't did school focus. Oh yeah, it's like even in school, right? If you get, let's say you ace math, you ace
Right.
physics, you ace
Right.
everything, but you fail in geography. If you fail in fucking geography, you gotta fucking repeat that shit. But they don't put the same emphasis on sports. If you fucking fail in sports and you get,
Right.
nobody gets an F, everyone gets a D at minimum. But even then, you're not forced to repeat, even though your physical attributes are not there, which I think is fucking bullshit.
Yeah, let me relate this to myself. This is totally true. I mean, I'll confess, my Machiavellian skills are not that developed. I think because too much of my time I've been a gym dude. Okay, gym is more like when you hit the weights, right? It's more a competition with yourself. Okay, so this is me comparing group sports and individual sports. So when you hit the weights, it's more like I'm competing with myself. Can I, like, it's more about self-discipline. It's more about pushing yourself. And I think I have that as a person. But like I can see that in work situations, having spent like 8 years in the corporate world, where it's not necessary, those gym, like self-discipline, push yourself, like, work out hard kind of work ethic doesn't really play out when it comes to team situations like in corporate. It's more about that basketball example that you said. Like, if this dude from the same department passes me this paper instead of this ball in basketball, how am I gonna size this dude up to know that he's trying to help me or fuck me over?
Or just barely execute.
Yeah. So I
Simple as
would
that.
definitely, yeah. If I could speak to my former self, I would definitely have told the younger version of me, okay, weights are good. Like, I would go to as far as saying, like, jujitsu is not a team sport. It's
It's not, but there's an element of growth, and still an element of you're competing. The competition against
exact
other people is really
yeah.
important. That's the
The
key. That's
kind
the
of
key thing.
skills, yeah, the kind of skills you develop playing basketball or football, social skills you develop are very different than the
Yes.
social skills that you develop when you're doing jujitsu or boxing.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
as okay, so sweet, nice. So to any of the seventh graders listening to this podcast, don't do
I hope
school.
not. I really
Yeah.
do.
No, dude. I mean, honestly, if
Yeah.
this was the former younger Talal in seventh grade, I hope he's listening to this, dude.
But see,
Like, anyway,
here's
let
something
me
you should.
let me just finish one thing. Let me just finish one thing. So, summarizing what Hisham said, focus on school. Don't ditch school, but do more combat sports and team sports if
I
you
would
want to
say
develop.
even if you have to put more work and effort into the sports, and that will cause you
Right,
to get a B instead of a fucking A in physics, fuck it, get the
right.
B.
All right,
That,
sweet. Right. Okay. I love like this tangible like advice that we can give people listening to the podcast. Now, like, Esther, I'm gonna shift on to you now. If you had to talk to your seventh grade former self, what would you say to seventh grade Asrar Shah in terms of developing your Machiavellian skills? Like, what would you say to seventh grader Asrar? This is what you need to do if you want to sharpen your Machiavellian skills so you can be later on more successful in life.
I don't know, man. That question is it's a terrible, terrible question. Sorry,
Okay,
but
tell
it
me why.
is because for a few reasons. For example, you guys talk about seventh graders who might be listening. Well, you have to realize a lot of seventh graders have no autonomy in terms of what they get to do. It's
Yeah,
usually
but
the
they get to watch
parent.
porn, right?
Yeah,
On
but see,
Amazon.
that's where you're again. That's not they're hacking the system to do that. You
Okay,
know what I mean? They're not doing it
that
with the
sounds
consent.
Machiavellian to me.
So I'm gonna challenge that a little bit because I do think there is a little bit of autonomy. Like in school, you could, as a seventh grader, choose to focus more on basketball as opposed to studying physics. You could do that. With there's certain limits. Like
I mean, you're talking about first world students here, then, or developed countries. So you're not talking
No,
about
but
so
the
exactly.
average seventh grader doesn't have those options.
So the way Talal phrased the question was for me specifically if I was in seventh
Okay.
grade. So I'm answering within that context. Yeah, I mean, if you're in
I was
fucking Bangladesh or some shit, it's like, well, I mean, good fucking luck. I don't know. I don't fucking know what to tell you, bro.
Yeah.
Like, just survive and you'll be good. You've
but
accomplished something.
okay, I want to hear Asrar's perspective on this, because he thinks this is not the right
Again,
question, or
see,
this is not
like
the right.
you talk about so I was more referring to the seventh grader who's watching this, okay? Now, if you're
Right.
going to talk about seventh graders anyway, then let's talk about a specific region then. So you talk about focusing more on basketball. You're assuming
Right.
that this kid has some sort of physical prowess that lets him compete with others that are in seventh grade at that level.
No, I'm not. So I had zero fucking physical prowess. I was very nerdy in school. So the
Again, so
advice
if,
that I
if
would
you
give to
were if you
myself.
were if you were in New York, or if you were in a neighborhood that was relatively um, with African American heritage or something of the sort, where people are generally, because African people are generally, they have bigger frames and
Mhm.
they're built differently. And if you were a nerd, do you think you'd survive at the court?
No, I wouldn't, but that's what I would say is put yourself in that court.
And
And
exactly. So
survive.
imagine you going to the court and you're continuously getting bullied because you're small, because you can't keep up, because you don't get the ball. So your advice is backfiring now.
Okay.
My
Hold up, Asrar.
advice
Hold
would
up.
be okay.
Yeah.
No, I
Okay.
see
Yeah.
what you're saying. So my
Mhm.
advice would be to challenge yourself to rise up in that situation. So you're getting bullied in the court. Again, so I get what you're saying. Okay, this guy might not have autonomy, blah blah blah. Let's say in my weird example, you've got full autonomy. Okay, if you're getting bullied in the court during fucking summer holidays, what you do is you hustle and you practice basketball and you go to the gym to get bigger and you do what's needed to compensate to get your strengths up to a par where you can survive in that situation. That would be
Mhm.
my advice. So, you missed a part of the conversation,
Okay.
but I guess the way Talal asked the question was like, for me personally, as a person who in school was very nerdy, how would I develop my Machiavellian skills? I would say to myself, focus less on the books and focus more on the physical prowess,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Okay.
So within
Okay.
that, I don't know if that kind of answers your question, but it's like, given that context, that's what I would do. Now, if
Okay,
someone
so
is
Okay.
like,
Okay.
Mhm.
Hold up. Guys. Okay. This is very interesting, because Asrar picked up on something which is physical prowess, right? Let me give my 2 cents on this. Okay. So if if there are lions playing basketball, right? Okay. Uh, what I think, and you're not a lion. You're not physically built as a lion. I think you need to figure out how you're going to function in that context. And that means maybe you need to be a jackal. Okay. Because I know this is an extreme example, but let's take out an example from nature, right? So when jackals try to get meat that lions have caught, hunted, right? They make sounds, or they try to attract hyenas to come to where the lions are eating or feasting. So in that moment of distraction, when the lions and the hyenas are kind of having like a skirmish or what have you, very deftly, and the jackal goes and takes out a little bit of the meat from the hunt. Okay. Now how does that play out? Okay, so if you're a nerd, right? and you want to make it in the playground, right? And there are these lions that are like playing basketball. You need to be more of a jackal, and a jackal is a little bit more intelligent, a little bit more conceptual, okay, for lack of a better term, than the lions. Okay, so if you don't have the physical prowess, I think you need to tap into the other areas that you've been compensated for when you don't have the physical prowess. You might have the intellect, the intelligence, street smart, cunning prowess.
Mm. Yeah, I see that. I love that. So I would say in the basketball example, if I was a jackal, I would introduce a woman to that dynamic, and as they're fucking fighting,
Maybe, yeah, exactly. Exactly.
No,
I
but I
don't
see
know.
what you're
Like,
saying, and
what do you think about the jackal thing?
I love it.
Isra?
I love the way you said it.
What's that?
The jackal, So when do you have to be a jackal, and when do you have to be a lion? If you agree that there are times that you need to be a jackal and not a lion.
In my experience, there is no set time. It's all about the situation in terms of how you're feeling that day. I think the main important thing is you're not being too unreasonable. A little unreasonable is just fine. However,
Right.
you should not be regretful. You should not show remorse of what you've done. And I'll back that up with what Dr. Peterson said. He's like, don't be harmless. Get
Yeah.
mad, do something, and don't just back off. And that's what
Right.
people really
Right.
care about. That's how they'll test you too, right?
I think you've touched. I mean, if you don't, I think okay. So yeah, this is perfect what you're saying right now. Basically, what you're saying is that if you are not physically built to be strong, you need to figure out a way to be harmful.
Yes.
Not
Fuck yeah.
harmful, but don't be
Not
harmless.
harmless.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not harmless. Yeah. But here's the
Yeah,
thing, right?
example. Yeah,
This is like a
sure,
double-edged
sure.
sword because you might start going
Right,
towards that
totally.
smaller guy who's got a chip on the shoulder. Do you know what I mean?
Right,
So it's
right,
I
right.
don't know. There's so much that
Yeah,
could
I
be
mean,
said.
dude, like I'm just gonna say this, like when we are hanging around um and like when we're playing sports, jiu-jitsu, we go to the gym or we hang out or we go clubbing, and in the group there's a dude who shows me a harmless mentality, right? I'm saying mentality. I mean, I can't help but feel pity,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is gonna sound arrogant, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a reptilian side of me that kind of wants to pick on him,
Yeah. That's
right?
that's that's male psychology. It's like you want to test
Yeah,
once you see that in another guy, you want to test him because you're like, yo, bro, can I again when shit gets real, are you gonna be a bitch?
exactly.
You know?
Yeah, yeah, I see
Guys, I
that.
gotta
I
I
mean,
gotta jump off.
yeah. Okay, so
I got
yeah, so let's end this anyway. Okay, we'll end this right. I think this was awesome. Thank you guys for we'll wrap up over here. This was very interesting. Let's hope this continues. And anybody who's watching this who wants to send an email to comment below, please send an email to lamki777@gmail.com. Thank you guys. Thank you, Sham. Thank you, Asrar. Talk to you guys soon. Later.
Liz.
peace. Peace.